There's been a serious injury on SmackDown last night. Welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast review of SmackDown. I am Corporate Chopper. I'm joined by Andy Datson. And yes, on last night's SmackDown episode, there was a very surprising return, which led to quite immediate heartbreak, as there was a Women's Survivor Series match qualifier. It was a triple threat. Originally started with Natalya backstage with definitely not the GM, Adam Pearce. And she was saying, why can't you just put me in the Survivor Series team? I'm amazing. Just put me in the team. Why do I have to qualify? Just put me in the team. And he was saying, ooh, sorry, already scheduled a triple threat match, which is actually next between her, Tamina, and Liv Morgan. Winner goes on to the Women's Survivor Series team. All good so far. But then the camera pans, and it's Chelsea Green, who's not been seen on SmackDown ever, and who's not been seen on the main roster since like before WrestleMania, I want to say. It's been a long time since she's been around. Despite her being called up from NXT all that time ago, she's not been used at all. She's even been quite vocal on Twitter, being like, I haven't wrestled since May. What's happening? So yeah, she finally got to wrestle. They changed it to a fatal 4-way after the three of them had made their entrances. They said, we've been told it's now been changed to a fatal 4-way. Out comes Chelsea Green. Everyone goes, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, Chelsea Green on the SmackDown Survivor Series team. Cool. Interesting. Something different. I'm okay with that. But unfortunately, after the initial scuffle of the fatal 4-way, Chelsea Green wasn't seen for the rest of the match. I thought that was just some sort of weird programming choice. Turns out she actually got injured and she's broken her arm. Which is very unfortunate for her. The timing as well, to not wrestle since May and be very vocal and be like, I just want to get back in the ring. I haven't wrestled since May. First wrestling match you have back, and you pick up an injury like that. It's just not great for her.
It was all very strange. So yes, obviously nice that she's getting a match finally. The whole Natalya thing backstage, it's like, I'm not going to rag on Natalya. I think she's very good. So that's why you've got to qualify Natalya. And yeah, it's really, really poor timing, because she's waited so long for this. And it was so innocuous as well. It was just a drop kick from Liv Morgan. She fell, and then we didn't see her again. The ad break, she came back, and no one said anything.
Nope.
No one was like, she's gone. And she was, according to reports, supposed to win the match. She was booked to win, and because of her injury, they had to basically make her do a vocal, not a vocal, what's it called? An audible.
Yeah.
Call an audible and change the result of the match. So, yeah, I mean, this could have been her 3-week push, but it's now going to be 6 weeks of rehab, and who knows how long it's going to be before she's actually sort of on the main roster again, because it's not like she wrestled for a long time, got over, got injured, and then is going to come back. It's not like when she comes back, it's going to be like, wow, what a triumphant return. It's going to be like, isn't she that woman who got injured after 5 seconds in her first match? So it's really poor timing. I really feel bad for her. I mean, seems in sort of high-ish spirits. She posted these photos, which I'm flicking up on screen now, from the hospital. So there you go, thumbs up. There you can see the break itself. Now I can't decide, or Chopper and I can't decide whether she's already had her arm broken, and that's from a previous break. The kind of metal bracket, or whether that has just been put in. To kind of help realign it. I don't know enough about arms.
I'm not a doctor, unfortunately.
Also, when does an arm become a wrist, and when does a wrist become an arm? Because everyone's reporting wrist.
Questions.
She said arm.
Yeah.
That looked like an arm to me. But then again, when I look at my wrist, I'm like,
that's probably a wrist. Yeah. But it is the bone that goes in your arm. So it's technically like your arm bone has broken, but it is at your wrist point in the arm. So is it your wrist? Is it your... Anyway, she got injured and she was taken to hospital. Question. Successfully had surgery from the looks of it, and assuming 6 weeks or so of recovery time. It's not the worst injury it could have been, but super unfortunate timing. And we've seen with Vince before, He goes cool on people very quickly once they get injured. We've seen it with people like Finn Balor, with The Revival, with AOP, people like that just once you get one injury, it's just like, oh, cool, they're weak. Never mind. We're not going to push them anymore. So I'm hoping this isn't the case for Chelsea Green, and she still does get a chance to try and, get herself over and actually perform properly on SmackDown. And I hope this isn't the end for her to just become a nothing character.
Sudden theory. Do you think she was supposed to be booked in this match? Or do you think someone else was supposed to be booked in this match, but that someone else no longer works for the company?
I also thought the same thing just now as well. I wouldn't be surprised if it was supposed to be Zelina Vega. If you haven't seen the WrestleTalk news or haven't heard the news at all, Zelina Vega has been released from WWE. Apparently, according to reports, it was over the edict that WWE did recently of seizing their third-party platforms, such as Twitch and Cameo and things like that. Zelina obviously streams a lot on Twitch. She has an OnlyFans now as well for her cosplay. So yeah, it was unfortunate timing. Let's say.
Imagine getting. So we won't go into this, but imagine getting record profits and then going, oh, do you know what, guys? We need more money.
Yeah. Corporations.
It's pissed everyone off. Not a single person has gone, oh, I'm so glad they're seizing all this extra money that I've been making. Because without live shows, these people aren't getting their live show money. They are getting the reports. They're sort of getting similar amounts of merch sales because the kind of WWE shop is inundated because people can't go to live events. But to take away the only extra and it almost takes the fun out of it for people as well, because if you're always sort of being monitored, so I'm not surprised at all that she's gone, do you know what? No. Screw this. I'm off.
Yeah. But anyway, back to what we were talking about, Chelsea Green's injury. I just wish her a speedy recovery, and I just hope this isn't the end of her, because she is pretty good. So I want her to actually have a fair shake on the main roster and not just be treated like nothing all the time. But yeah, that wasn't the only women's segment on the show, though. We might as well talk about it now, because it was basically nothing, which was Sasha Banks coming out to say to all the haters who said I couldn't retain, I retained. Look at me go. I'm awesome. And then Bayley came out, and then Carmella attacked Sasha Banks from behind, and Bayley evaporated. God, don't remind me of that picture.
There's Carmella.
That's awful. At least put the banner back on the screen, Datsun. Come on.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
Amateur.
There you go. That is. I don't care about Carmella because they haven't made me care about Carmella. I care about her as a person, just not as a wrestler. It's just. We know they're going to go back to this Bayley feud anyway. This is a stop. This is a TLC feud, and then they'll go back to Bayley because there's no one else on the SmackDown roster that is seen as a legit, apart from Bianca Belair, but where was she on this show?
Yeah.
Apart from her, there is no one I'm thinking, oh yeah, they could actually have a genuinely good feud with Sasha Banks. I
mean, if Chelsea Green didn't get injured, I could at least as a temporary feud, as a first shake at the title and her coming up short, I could see that.
The thing is, I'm sure they could have decent matches, but I don't think WWE will book anyone else properly.
No, because you're right with.
Because they have so much help with the Bayley stuff, because it's already there. You don't need to do anything else. That you go, right, you know what your history is, go and do a story. But if it's like you want to push Liv Morgan, I mean, last time they tried to push Liv Morgan, they made her a lesbian with Lana on Raw. So. And is Liv Morgan no longer? Are they still in the Riot Squad? Is she now a single star? Where was Ruby?
They're still in the Riot Squad. Ruby Riot's qualified, lest we forget, for the Survivor Series.
Okay, so the Riot Squad, so that'll be a thing. But there's Ruby Riot's amazing. Yeah. Liv Morgan is getting better every time you see her, but they just don't care, so they're not going to book them properly. They care about Bayley and they care about Sasha because they're the four horsewomen's, or the two of the four horsewomen's.
Yeah, the segment itself was dumb. It didn't add anything to Carmella's attack from last week. It was exactly the same. It was a super kick facebuster, except this time in the ring. Bayley was also there, much like last week. It's nothing. It's a nothing feud. It annoys me because they have so many talented women. Use them properly. Ugh.
Do you know what
Anyway.
isn't a wasted, talentless, stupid feud, Chopper?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's Survivor Jams.
Hell yeah. Survivor Jams coming up next Sunday for our Survivor Series live reactions. It's Survivor Jams, All Authority versus Team Luke Warm. It's Mr. Davis. It's me. It's our newest recruit into the All Authority, New Gay, aka Louis Dangor, versus Team Lukewarm, that currently is Luke and two nobodies. We don't even know who he's got because he doesn't have any friends.
And do you know how you can show who you're supporting, Chopper?
How can
you can have
do
it
that?
over to WrestleShop.com and buy yourself either a "Give Me a Yes Please" T-shirt or a, what does it say on Ollie's shirt?
That's such good jam.
That's such good jam. Absolutely. Yeah, head over there. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win.
There's quite obviously one T-shirt that you should be buying, though. Of course,
it's the one that messes with green screens.
Absolutely, that's the one. So yes, go ahead and show your support for the All Authority / Team Lukewarm, but not the second one. Definitely the first one. Let's get into a review of the full show. So the show kicked off with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came out with Paul Heyman, and he cut a promo, which was actually pretty on the nose of him just being like, "Hey, look, I make everyone relevant. Just look at Jey USo. He was a tag team guy, and now he's main eventing against Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, and he's great." And we're all like, yeah, you got a good point there, buddy. And then there's a really fun line. It's a nothing line, but I just really appreciated it because he may be facing either Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series because they have a WWE Championship match on this coming episode of Raw. So whoever wins that will be facing Roman at Survivor Series. Really funny line from Roman. I just really appreciated him saying, when you think about Randy Orton, which I don't, and then just went on into the rest of the promo. It's just, I don't know why. I just really like that line. And he was just saying how he's going to beat Orton. He respects his accomplishments, but he does not respect the man. But he doesn't mention Drew McIntyre at all as even a possibility of facing him. And because the brand split doesn't exist, out comes Drew McIntyre.
No, it's still Survivor Series. It is the one other night of the year where, this was like, I get it in terms of story, but there's supposed to be two things. And I mean, it wasn't like, it's not like they didn't present this as an invasion. They were just like, oh, Drew McIntyre's here. Like, I don't mind invasion storylines. Remember that brilliant one with Becky Lynch? Like, that's cool. You're like, wow, cool. SmackDown's invading Raw.
NXT invading. That was great.
Yeah, but this is just, oh, look, Drew McIntyre's here. Hi, Drew. How are you? Are you going to have a match? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, man. I hate that. I hate it so much. Like, stick to your brand. The point that, like, if you're going to do brand warfare for Survivor Series, Raw versus SmackDown, surely the selling point of that is, like, you don't get to see these matchups anywhere else in the year. This is literally, if they're going to stick to it, the one night of the year where you will see Raw stars take on SmackDown stars. That's the big selling point, which is completely undermined when you have Raw stars facing SmackDown stars 2 weeks before Survivor Series.
And it's just this whole thing where you're like, does WWE really think its viewers are that stupid?
Yes.
Like, it is so insulting that you're like, oh, do you know what, guys? This is the one night of the year that this happens. But if it happens again, don't call us up on that, because this is the one night of the year.
See, the thing is, I remember, I can even remember tweeting this when they first started doing the brand warfare stuff in 2016 at Survivor Series. I said at the time, I was like, this is completely meaningless. No one has like brand loyalty or anything because the brands have literally only just begun. Like there's nothing, there's no loyalty to either brand here, I said. But then I said, if they stick to it, if they actually stick to brands and they have like minimal trades between brands so that you get over like the course of a couple of years, these stars are associated with these brands, you could have something. It's quite exciting to have a bit of like inner competition. I think at a base level, having some sort of points-based competition between teams across the span of one night is a fun gimmick. But they just undermine the entire storytelling point of it by having complete redrafts of the brand all the time. People can just swap whenever they want, and stars from either brand just show up on either show. It seems like a small thing, but it undermines the entire point of Survivor Series. And of course, there's no stakes. It's for pride and brand warfare, and it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't help that you have the draft a month and a half before it.
Exactly.
And the draft, everyone who got pretty much drafted to Raw was on SmackDown. Everyone on the Raw team was basically on SmackDown like 3 weeks ago. So then it's like, oh, I'm so loyal to this brand I've been on for a month. It's like, no, you're not. We know you don't care because you're probably going to get moved back in the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really dumb. But anyway.
Bring back another show. Like, we don't need Survivor Series anymore. Or if you want to do a show where there's everyone facing each other, just call it something else and don't have that tagline.
Just give it stakes. Just have a meaning for it, at least. And then there's actually a point for someone to be like, okay, I want Team Raw to win here because then I get the opportunity to do this other thing.
Yeah,
fine,
like,
whatever.
If you're a survivor in one of the matches, you get a title match.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's two people who win from Raw, say like I don't know, I can't remember who's on the team, but like if two of them win, they're like, okay, well you can be in a triple threat or whatever like that for the title. Just make them want it. Make even if it's a fake reason, at least give us a reason, not just like I love SmackDown, I want to win for SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly. Or I don't know how it would work entirely, but whatever brand wins the night is the one that gets the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble. And then they, on their own show in the weeks afterwards, they have competitions and qualifying matches to see who gets that coveted number 30 spot. Because in kayfabe, that would be the spot you want. So just have them fight for it. Just make Survivor Series mean something. It's not hard. Anyway, before we get completely sidetracked, even though we already did, Drew McIntyre came out and nice little line from McIntyre here saying, last time they were in the ring together, he was eliminating Roman to win the Royal Rumble. Do you remember? Nice. Which was a nice line. What wasn't quite so nice was him just being like, hey, you abandoned the fans when you took time off. I'm like, ooh, that's a bit uncomfortable. Dude's had leukemia.
Drew's not a heel.
No.
He was, first of all, he was shielding himself because he's got a compromised immune system. His wife is having twins, so he was shielding her. And Drew, big babyface, comes out and goes, you abandoned the fans.
Yeah.
So I know Roman's a heel, but don't make Drew the dick in this situation.
No, it's weird. They did the same thing with Sami when he came back, and everyone was like, you left. How dare you leave? And it was like, ugh, it's just a bit uncomfortable. But besides that one line, I thought they'd cut some pretty decent promos, saying that, Drew was saying that Roman left and he had to step up. And Roman was saying, yeah, you did step up. And now I'm back. And no one cares who you are because everyone's watching SmackDown because everyone's watching me. And I was like, oh, he's got a point again, guys. It was really good.
Justified heels are the best kind of heels.
Totally, exactly. Jey USo then runs out and kind of gets in between them, grabs a microphone and just says, hey, look, I did it to Daniel Bryan. I did it to Kevin Owens. You're being disrespectful. I'm going to have to put you in your place. And before the match gets like officially made, Roman and Jey and Paul Heyman walk away. Even the little things on it, I really enjoyed, like Roman getting out through the middle rope and Jey dropping down to the bottom rope to get out. Just, that's cool. Keep doing that. Yeah. He's not worthy of getting out the same rope as Roman. Like that. It's great. I love it. After that as well, there's a little backstage segment where Roman was not happy about Jey coming out and just yelled at him for coming out and interfering. He said, I don't need you to handle my business. Know your place, essentially. He calls the shots, not Jey. And Jey was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll go handle it. It's fine. I'm sorry. And eventually that match does get made for the main event with not the GM Adam Pearce and Drew McIntyre backstage. Drew saying, I want to fight. And Adam Pearce goes, okay. And then they made the match for the main event.
Yes.
Nice. We got an Intercontinental Championship match next, which was Sami Zayn versus Apollo Crews. That was made out of nowhere. Sure. I'm glad that Sami was on the show. This match lasted a minute, 2 minutes. and Sami Zayn went outside, pulled the apron off, and then tied Apollo's leg in the metal framework, of the ring, and then got back in the ring, and he got counted out for 10.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Toriano turns up in it.
Yeah. I like how you can make those references now you've watched the G1 for 1 year.
It was just like, what are you doing? Like,
I mean,
especially because he did such a bad job of tying his foot up as well. Like, it was like his foot is not stuck. I can see that he can get his foot out.
Yeah, he can. It's like, when people get tied up in the ropes.
Yeah, when they're like got their arms like that. Like, just take your arms out, you idiot.
Just take your arms down. Yeah, it was kind of like that. And I know what they're going for is that Sami's really sneaky and he's actually really smart around the ring. Like, the whole finish at was it Hell in a Cell where they had the triple threat ladder match where, he was handcuffing AJ, then he had the key so he could untie the handcuffs to then recuff AJ to the ladder and then get up. That was really smart. That's really cool. I get what they're trying to do. It didn't work for this one, I don't think. It was just a bit dumb.
At least it's not as stupid as the double stomp where you're in the tree of woe where your legs are caught up and you grab the top rope and go, hey mate, what are you doing up there? Look, what are you doing? I'm just going to hang here. Mm-hmm. That's the dumbest spot in wrestling. There,
in wrestling?
That's the dumbest spot in
wrestling.
Yes.
It's a bold claim, that one. The dumbest spot in wrestling. Wow. So Sami Zayn retained via countout. Cool. Didn't really do anything for either of them, I'd say. We had the Drew getting his match with Adam Pearce. Then we had Rey Mysterio with Caleb Braxton with all his family saying this isn't about his eye that he lost in the eye for an eye match. This is about his family because it's going to be Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in the final chapter of their feud.
Yeah.
About time. If it's true.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, once in a lifetime. This isn't about his eye. This is about his family. So they're going to have a match later on. We got the Sasha Banks segment next, which was nothing. And then we got Otis backstage, was eating a lot. And then Dolph, Ziggler, and Bobby Roode came in and said, haha, he's eating a lot. And then Otis flipped the table with the food on. I was like, guys, what's happening?
This is Otis's. This is now Otis's gimmick, isn't it? This is what he was. This is his thing. This is what he was with Mandy Rose. Basically, she was getting him hams, but now he hasn't got anyone to riff off. He's just a guy. He's just a chubby guy who eats backstage.
Yeah.
He hasn't got Tucker. Tucker's now a jobber on Raw.
Yep.
And Otis has now kind of been demoted to having matches because someone said, "You're eating a bit much, mate."
And it was at this point in the show as well where I was just like, what's happening on SmackDown? Because this was like 4 back-to-back segments that lasted about a minute and nothing happened. And I was like, guys, what's going on?
Because you're booking Otis as like the oversensitive girlfriend who when you go, are you sure you should be having a second? Or we're just about dinner. Are you sure you want that packet of crisps? And they go, are you saying that I'm fat? Are you saying I'm eating too much? I'm going to have a fight with you. Like, that's not a wrestling gimmick. That's not a wrestling guy. It doesn't make me think he's cool. And then he goes out and wins immediately. So all it does is make him look like a fat guy who eats food, and Dolph Ziggler look like an idiot for challenging him.
Yeah. Dolph Ziggler versus Otis. Hey, remember when they had that WrestleMania match? When they actually had a story? Otis absolutely squashed him. Dolph did get a zigzag in, which Otis kicked out of, thanks to a Rude distraction. But then he hit the caterpillar, and then Rude tried to interfere again, and he went, and then Rude went, oh, I'm sorry, I won't touch you. And then he hit a splash, and then he won. Don't care.
So,
I'm sorry, Otis, I don't care.
And the SmackDown Tag Champions are feuding with one person. And you're making your actual tag teams look like idiots. Yeah,
that sounds about right, yeah. The only mildly interesting thing from this came after the match, where backstage, Otis is talking to himself, and then Chad Gable comes up to him and says, you could be doing this all the time. You just need someone to unlock your potential. You've got all the potential in the world. You need the Alpha Academy. And he gives him this little leaflet with Alpha Academy on the front of it. Otis gets really pumped about it, really jazzed. And he's like, yeah, we're going to lift weights. We're going to do all the stuff. We're going to get great. And then he walks off. And then Chad Gable does this very evil, sinister grin as he walks off.
You realize this is going to be like 3 weeks of comedy skits of Otis lifting food.
Possibly. It's going to be Chad Gable, the exasperated coach.
Something like, yeah. Chad will be like, oh, make sure you're doing your reps. Mm-hmm. And then it'll be like, Otis will go, and then he'll turn around and go, Otis, what are you doing? And you said, make sure I'm eating crepes or something like that. And it'll be like, that would be funny, but it'll be like, oh.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because that's actually pretty good to come up with off the top of your head.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I really don't think this is going anywhere.
I think you're giving him too much credit. I don't think it's going to be any comedy skits. I think it's going to be Chad Gable is in Otis's corner. There you go.
At ringside, yeah. Yeah. I wish Jason Jordan was fit and able to wrestle.
Hey,
because then he could just realign with Chad Gable.
I like the name, the Alpha Academy. Playing off American Alpha.
It's also the AA.
Jason Jordan coming back. The teasers are in. I doubt it, but the Alpha Academy is a good name, at least. It's not terrible.
Change the thumbnail. Jason Jordan returning.
We should do that, shouldn't we? Yeah. But yeah, after that, we got the final chapter of Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, which was a no-holds-barred match. So I know that both of us have a lot to say about this match for one particular bit, but we'll get to that in a minute. So they had a really good video package, as always. It's WWE, recapping kind of their whole feud so far. I then made a note that said, is Murphy going to do that thing where he won't help Rey until the very end when it looks like Rey is going to lose for no reason? I'll come back to that one later. They had some really cool spots in this match. There was a really early one where Seth had Rey up kind of on his shoulders, and Rey turned around into a tornado DDT on the apron, which looked really cool. There was a powerbomb through a table. There was some cool Rey sliding under the bottom rope spots into Seth caught him and suplexed him onto the announce table. There's another one where Seth was lying on the steps and Rey went out and splashed him on the steps. It was cool. It was a fun match. These two are really good wrestlers. Hot take. But yeah, there was a powerbomb through the table, and then Seth kind of almost went too far when he took off the little stubs, the little rubbery bits on the end of a chair leg, and went to go gouge out Rey's other eye. Oh,
frankly, I'm surprised that referee from Hell in a Cell last year didn't run in and stop the match because of Seth going too far.
I know, too far. There's no holds barred. Can't DQ no holds barred, much like you can't no DQ Hell in a Cell. So yeah, Dominic gets involved because that's crossing the line. He drags Seth out the ring. Yeah, and Seth super kicks him, and then gets back in the ring. And it's at this point that Murphy decides to unveil his grand master plan, which is he got back in the ring. He helped Seth get to his feet. He handed him a chair. He went over to Rey Mysterio and picked him up like he was going to hold him in place for Seth to hit him with the chair. But then he hit a knee on Seth instead. And then he got out the ring, and Seth went to go chase him. He said, well, what are you doing? And put himself on the second rope. Rey then botched a 619, which is a shame, but then hit it properly. On the second try, went and hit a 619 onto Seth, and then hit the frog splash, the Eddie Guerrero frog splash. Did a little tribute to him on the top rope, and then won. And then after the match, Rey and Dominic both shook Murphy's hand, giving their approval for Murphy and Aaliyah to be together. So,
I want to do it.
I mean, I think we'll both get a chance here.
All right.
So let's talk about Murphy's plan. So his plan.
He can't do it. I'm going to do it. So He said last week to Aaliyah, I have this crazy plan. You've got to trust me.
It's for the greater good.
It's for the greater good. You will just trust me. So first of all, you've got to for this to happen, you've got to assume that Seth doesn't watch SmackDown back. Seth's not watching any of this. He doesn't watch TV and he hasn't been tweeted in a week saying, "Did you see this, mate?" Or one of his friends doesn't text him saying, "Huh, you should probably watch out for Murphy. He's clearly scheming edgy." You've got to first of all, you've got to accept that. Then you have to accept that the most intelligent thing, the best plan Murphy could come up with was to just kick someone the week after pretending to align with them. So that's stupid because you're making Murphy look like an idiot because it's like that's the only thing he can think of. You're making Seth look like an idiot for believing him. Seth spent like 5 weeks being kicked and beaten up by Murphy. And then he walks up to him and goes, "You are the Messiah." And Seth goes, "Ha, ha, ha." And like, he accepts that Murphy's now back on his side for some reason. And then he's surprised when Murphy turns on him immediately. It just makes them both look like idiots. Like, no one came out of this match looking any better.
Yeah. And Ray didn't look better either because he won with assistance.
Yeah. And then he goes, "Yes, do you know what, man I've known briefly, you can be with my daughter who like Disney princess levels of falling in love quickly." It was like Anna in Frozen, who after like one song goes, "I'm gonna marry this guy." It's like, whoa. Yeah. No wonder your sister thinks you're an idiot.
So just to go over this plan, he made sure that Seth qualified for the Survivor Series team last week to try and get him on side, right? For him to believe that he was on his side again. So his plan was to not interfere in a no-holds-barred match until a certain point when it looked like Seth was not going to win, because he wasn't really. He just went to go gouge out the eye, but then Dominic got involved. So he decided that was the moment that he wanted to hit a knee onto Seth. And then he knew that if he got out the ring, Seth would chase him and put himself on the second rope so that Ray could hit the 619 and then he'd win. Here's my question. Why don't you just beat him up? Because it's a no-holds-barred match. You could just do that. What's the surprise for? Why go on side to then betray him again? Why don't you just not do that?
The only argument I can find is that Murphy's plan was actually something else, but so he was going to stay on Seth's side, but he realized that Seth was going too far. I was like, do you know what? I have to step in here. That's the only explanation they can even attempt. And other than that, it's just Murphy was an idiot.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, if it wasn't a no-holds-barred match, I could sort of maybe understand it, for that he has to wait for the right time to interfere to cost Seth because he has to wait for the referee to not look, right? And he has to bide his time for the right moment to capitalize so that Ray can win off the back of it. Still doesn't explain the whole going on his side to then betray him again, but it explains why he wouldn't interfere in the match until a certain point. This was a no-holds-barred match. Just get in the ring and beat him up, mate. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping just Ray, Dominic, and Murphy just laying into Seth. Just do that.
I've never understood why the people in no-holds-barred matches don't just turn up with an axe. Or a baseball bat. Just both of them turn up. You just completely destroy the other person in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's so
Sting
dumb.
had the right idea.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't think about it, it's a cool moment. If you literally just shut off your brain for a minute and just go, "Oh, cool, he turned on him." Cool, fine. But if you think about it for a second, everything just starts falling apart. And that is basically this show as a whole, was if you think about it for a second, none of it makes sense.
And Ray now goes, "Wow, that man is incredibly violent. Yes, I want him to be with my daughter."
Yeah, totally. Look, he showed his true colors here by pretending to be on his side so he could he's so smart, you see, that he went on his side to betray him again because the surprise factor is what really turned the tides. It wasn't the knee, it was what was behind the knee. It was the message that he sent.
Next week, we're going to have the Mysterio family karaoke hosted by Jey USo, and it'll be Ray singing, "And I see your true colors shining through." And Murphy will be sitting there just with arm in arm with Aaliyah. And
then Angie will turn heel because she didn't win.
Yeah, Angie walks up to Ray, kicks him, redoes the Linda McMahon spot, kicks Ray in the penis.
Yeah.
And then Dominic, for some reason, does a coast to coast. I'm just booking this match.
God, I think we're tired, mate.
Everyone turns on Ray.
Loopy. Oh man. After that was the women's stuff with Natalya backstage asking to be qualified. The triple threat that got turned into a fatal four-way with Chelsea Green's injury. Drew then backstage has a promo with Kayla Braxton where he says nothing. And then you had Street Profits and Big E continuing their kind of I quite like the idea behind this promo of being like they're trying to get Big E on side because they're on SmackDown. But Big E actually has some sense and prefers his teammates who happen to be on Raw. He still wants them to win because they're his teammates. That makes sense. So Street Profits come out with a really elaborate way to say, haha, screw you, with some like food and stuff on a serving trolley. And then he like takes the dishes off and he says, why are all these things shaped in L's? And Street Profits say, well, at Survivor Series, we're going to be serving L's. I was like, that's a convoluted way to do a joke, but okay. But then Big E had a really good line when he said, well, actually, at Survivor Series, you're going to see that the best you could ever be is New Day Light. The best you could ever be is a knockoff New Day. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really good line. Nice one, Big E.
Yes.
And then they all laughed, and Big E walked off, and Montez Ford and Andrew Dawkins went, ooh.
I'm still waiting for a proper Big E push. This feels very much like, well, they're charismatic and black. So's he. Let's put them together. They'll probably do a good segment.
I mean, I'm hoping, if I'm going to be optimistic here, I'm hoping that they're holding off on the Big E push until after Survivor Series because they don't have anything for him to do that's brand versus brand stuff. So they're just using him to further the Street Profits New Day feud that's happening in Survivor Series.
I mean, I feel like Profits are going to win because Big E said that.
I don't know. I feel like New Day are going to win because they're the New Day.
But if Profits now lose, Big E's right in saying that they're not very good. And then it just makes the SmackDown Tag Team division, which is already terrible, look even worse.
Yep, that's true. We're going to be getting Murphy versus Rollins next week because Rollins was very mad.
Chapter.
Yeah, Rollins was very mad backstage. Adam Pearce being like, Murphy betrayed me, blah, 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 blah. And
it's the season premiere of Murphy versus Seth Rollins next week.
And because Murphy's now, I guess, dating Aaliyah, then he's kind of associated with the Mysterios. So it is really just Rollins still feuding with the Mysterios.
Murphy Mysterio.
That's his name. Don't wear it out.
Mysterio.
I hate you. And then we had the main event of Jey USo versus Drew McIntyre, which is supposedly an unsanctioned match. Unsanctioned. Remember that. Unsanctioned match. Really cool match. Really cool offense from both of them. Really enjoying Jey USo as a heel. I think he's doing great work. Drew McIntyre is fantastic. We know that. The referee starts calling for rope breaks and starts counting them out when they're outside the ring. How is that an unsanctioned match then? That is just a singles match. That's just a singles match. What's different? How is it an unsanctioned match?
Maybe because Drew's on Raw?
I think that's their theory. That's the way they get around the loophole of being like, well, we have to do an unsanctioned match because Drew's a Raw
We didn't know
star.
Drew was here. We just played his music.
Right? They didn't know that Drew was there. But then you've had Raw versus SmackDown matches before that were sanctioned. Why is this? If it's going to be unsanctioned, then have it be an unsanctioned match.
Because
You've
there are
done
no
unsanctioned
authority
matches
figures.
before. It makes me so mad because if you think about it for a second, nothing makes sense. That's the theme of this show. Anyway, Roman comes out after it looks like Drew is going to hit a Claymore. Jey rolls out the ring. Roman Reigns comes out and he starts watching from ringside, which is WWE's new favorite thing. Jey then gets back in control with the distraction, and he turns to Roman and he says, "Yeah, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him. Don't worry, I got him." He slides into the ring. Roman grabs his ankle and pulls him back out, and he's like, "I don't care if you beat him. Make him understand." And I was like,
I like that.
That's very good. Jey Uso then got back in the ring and just started pummeling away on McIntyre, just like he did to Jey at Clash of Champions. Just left and right on top of him. And as he gets up from it, he just goes, yeah, turns around, Claymore, straight in his face, which was a nice spot. I really enjoyed that. Drew just no-selling it. And Drew picks up the win. Drew then rolls out the ring and stares down with Roman to be like, do you understand me now? And Roman just kind of shrugs the title that's on his shoulders, being like, get one of these and then we can talk. And then he walked off. You know what? It was really dumb that Drew was on Raw, and the unsanctioned thing really doesn't make sense. It's done a really good job of building Drew versus Orton on Monday, because I genuinely believe that Drew actually has a chance of winning now, where I didn't think he had a chance before.
Absolutely. It does make Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan look a bit crap, because if Drew's just no-selling Jay's offense and then Jay's easily beating the other two.
I wouldn't say it was a proper, it wasn't a no-sell. It was a good Drew no-sell, if that makes sense. And I think it somewhat protected Jey in that he was in control, but then he got dragged out by Roman. So you could make the argument that Roman was the one who really cost Jey. I don't think it hurts him too much. Plus, it's Drew McIntyre, who's just been WWE champion for months.
Yeah, I know. It's just because the rumor is that the next challenger for Roman is Bryan, and then Jay's beating Bryan, and then Drew's just beating Jey, and I guess I don't really think they're far ahead.
No, and also you could make a story where Daniel Bryan comes back better than ever, and now he's not going to underestimate Jey or Roman or whatever, and that's fine. You can play that off. I mean, I'm actually quite excited about the possibility of Drew versus Roman at Survivor Series. I hope they do that now. I don't know how I feel about Drew just winning the title back on an episode of Raw, but they've made me excited for the match, and if they don't do it now, that's on them, because they made me excited for a match that's not going to happen.
I guess they did it with Jinder on SmackDown a couple of years ago. Like, we don't actually want to book this match.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to Jimmy returning as well, to reform J&J security for Roman Reigns.
That's good.
I really like this feud, so I'm not going to be too hard on it. But the show as a whole was confusing.
Yeah,
it didn't make a lot of sense. I think it is a 2.5, 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5, because some of the wrestling was actually really good. It's just it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, we've actually started doing polls on Twitter again, because YouTube doesn't let us do polls for the news episodes and stuff anymore. But we've done a poll on Twitter, and according to the poll, because you can only have 4 options on the Twitter poll. So we've done excellent, good, poor, terrible. About 50% of people voted for good for the show, which I disagree with. I thought this was a poor show on that rating scale, because the vast majority of the show was complete throwaway nothingness. It was stuff that lasted a minute. It was stuff that didn't further any stories or retreading of the same stories. It was just a bit bleh. The stuff that was good was good, but there wasn't anything like, oh my god, that was amazing on this show. There's stuff that was good, but there was a lot of stuff that was bad. I say it was poor. That's just me though. I'd give it a poor on the Twitter scale, and I'd also give it a 2 out of 5 on the our old scale, I guess. Yeah.
God, you've been away for 2 weeks. You come back as just being so negative. I've been positive all show. Do you know what's just positive, Pete?
What?
Having patrons.
Oh my god, so positive. Yes, before we get out of here, we now need to say thank you to some very special people, and those are our $25 and above pledge hammers on Patreon. If you haven't been to WrestleTalk's Patreon page yet, you should. Coming up very soon next week is going to be WrestleTalk Extra, which is going to be Survivor Series 2001, I believe, which is the Alliance versus Team WWF. Not the... Is it the winner take all one? Because it was the inaugural Brawl Invasion, which was
I don't
dumb.
watch wrestling.
Yeah, I know you don't. But yeah, I believe it's the winner take all Alliance Team WWF Survivor Series show, the one after the invasion. So yeah, check that out. It'll be coming next week. So stay tuned for that and head on over. That's at a $5 tier. Loads of other tiers, loads of other benefits, including this one. You pledge at $25, you get your own custom wrestling nickname, and it gets read out on a show, much like this one. So thank you to the mayor of Paynesville, Dan. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Ryan B. Bad.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. The British Bulldog, Philip Boy J. Smith Jr. Woo!
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Ryan Disco Stewart.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. He's no jackass, Dano. Woo!
Oh, no,
Yes,
he's not. Shield Maiden, the Zornice.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. The Rocket, Dan Van Sky. Woo!
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
The Snapdragon King, Ryu Dante.
Yes, thank you very much. Rob Steiner Recliner. Woo!
Oh, amazing. Manipulating Manny Umaria.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. The Pharaoh, Stephen Mazzaferro. Woo!
Oh,
Thank you.
nice. That's a new one. Spoke in class today, Jeremy Smith.
Yes, thank you very much. Jack Daniels on the Carl Rocks. Lovely, thank you.
Wait, have you given yourself the last one?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
Come on, Andy.
Andrew, the Last Airbender, Mercogliano.
Thank you very much. And finally for today, Ross Pooper Scooper Cooper. Woo!
Oh, I was going to really overdo that last one.
Yeah, I thought
Cooper,
you might.
Cooper.
Yeah, no, terrible, not happening. Thank you very much to all our Patreon backers, and thank you for watching. Please press the videos that just appeared on the screen to catch up with more awesome WrestleTalk stuff, and the button in the middle that will make you become a pledge hammer on Patreon. I have been Corporate Chopper. I've been joined by Randy Andy Datson, and that was SmackDown.